Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and senior editor of AutoFin Journal and Subprime Auto Finance News. In today's webinar, Keys to Digital Marketing Success in 2019, we're going to learn more from Andy McLay, Director of Digital Marketing for Dealer.com. But before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. Please make sure you've dialed in using the phone number provided in your communication email, or you're able to listen via your PC speakers. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll make that recording available to you as soon as possible. You will be in listen-only mode for this webinar, but we will reserve some time after Andy's presentation for a Q&A session. You can submit your questions at any time through the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And if we aren't able to get to your question today, don't worry, because we'll forward it to the team at Dealer.com so they can respond back to you directly via email. And lastly, if you have any difficulty during the webinar, please click on the hand icon on the GoToWebinar control panel to alert a member of our team. So with plenty of knowledge and recommendations to share, let's get right to Andy for our webinar. Andy, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Nick, and thanks to Cherokee Media Group and AutoFin Journal. This is a new venue for me to come and speak to, so I'm really excited about it. I think that we have a lot of really good F&I professionals as well as digital marketers out in the audience right now. So hopefully what we go through today will be relevant to what you do in your day-to-day job, and then maybe you can learn a little bit about possibly the other side of the aisle as well. So Nick, thank you very much again. I think we're just going to dive right into this. So we have labeled this winning as a digital dealership in 2019, and I think that most of us know that as we begin to work through 2019, the focus on really allowing for a transaction to begin and happen online and also in the store, that is beginning to be more and more important. So I want to start off with just going through a quick agenda here. I'm going to let you guys know who we are so we can kind of go through the bona fides on where we're coming from this data. I want to talk about website design and user experience a little bit. Personalization on that website and how we make the shopping process easier for our customers. How we are optimizing our inventory pages, digital retailing, a little bit of digital advertising. I think that this plays in much more than most of us think about when we're talking about the digital retailing environment, and then some custom content strategies that we can use to sort of promote our online transaction space, which is our website today. So a little bit about who Dealer.com is. I think that most people who work inside of the industry and have some sort of digital marketing experience in automotive have probably heard of us. But for those of you who haven't, just to give you an idea of where I'm pulling the data that we're talking about from. We're a platform of technology services to help car dealers and customers merchandise and purchase cars. We have an advertising suite of services and technology. Our core sort of tenant and where we started as a company was our websites, and that still remains today as our key focus as we sort of transition from websites being an informational gathering portal to more of a shopping portal. We also offer digital retailing services in conjunction with our sister companies, DealerTrack and Auto Traders. So I think that most of the F&I professionals who are here on this call recognize DealerTrack. We have been working with and acquired and sort of merged with them for the better part of about 6 years now, and then we also have managed services that we keep in-house, and these are really professionals who are experts at using our platform and give dealerships the ability to outsource what might be some of those back office functions that they would have on the digital marketing side of the coin there. All of this is sort of wrapped up in a layer of analytics that we can use to sort of look across all of these platforms. And we also have a team of dedicated professionals who are, quite honestly, just superstars in this industry. And those are our digital strategists. They're, both experts on merchandising and marketing vehicles, as well as the technology that goes behind what actually happens there. So they're really sort of the glue that ties all of this together. But really for us, what I want to focus on here is this analytics layer, because a lot of the information that we'll be looking at through this presentation will be driving from that, and through Cox Automotive's Car Buyer of the Future study. If the folks haven't heard that on the line before, I encourage you to go out. Nick, I'm happy to provide a link for everybody so they can get that as well. I would encourage that. It's got some really good nuggets in it from not only the F&I side of the house, but the digital marketing and also third-party listings information. Big, huge sort of family of companies with brands that you've probably heard of, like KBB, Auto Trader, obviously Dealer.com, DealerTrack. So all of this information is beginning to flow in, and we're really beginning to pull apart and begin to understand, what it is that motivates, drives, and compels people to begin the purchase process or service their vehicles. So we're really looking at kind of the life cycle of car ownership now, and beginning to figure out, what, as a dealership, where's the best places that you can invest your money. So, last sort of horn tooting slide here, but for those of you that don't know, we've got some big numbers that we're pulling our information and our insights from, right? 15,000 websites, 1.5 billion views in 2018, 38 million leads, 27 OEM partnerships, and we're using all of this. This presentation, I hope is technology provider agnostic, and you guys, although I hope that you understand that what we offer is compelling and great, all of the information that you guys are going to be hearing here is information that we're going to sort of release publicly, and it should be useful no matter what sort of technology platform you're on. So one of the big things, and I think that nobody would kind of argue this as an industry, is your website is really moving from being the spot that you would sort of capture and give your hours of operation, maybe show some of your team members, have your inventory, your merchandise, to a place where people are beginning to buy their cars. And one of the things that we know for websites is, for consumers, it's not really about price as much as it is about experience. So we, as digital marketers, as F&I professionals, we need to be meeting these customers, excuse me, where they want to be met. And our surveys show us that over half of people would prefer to buy from a dealer that offered the preferred experience over the lowest price. And I think I can hear sort of some of the gasps through the computer screen here right now. And this is probably a point of arguing, but I think that there's a lot of fear that embracing doing some of the car buying process online is what would colloquially be called a race to the bottom. Well, our information is showing that that's just really not the case. And I think that, probably, we can move outside of automotive for just a half a second and talk kind of in our own experiences, right? For me, one of my best examples that I use is, we all know that Zappos is owned by Amazon. We also know that Zappos is very rarely the lowest priced shopping portal on the internet, right? But what we also know is that Zappos provides an experience that's fantastic. For me, I love knowing that if I order a pair of shoes online, hot pair of new sneakers, they're going to show up tomorrow. If they don't fit me, it's a one-day shipping back. If I need any help, I'm talking to somebody who understands the product, is able to walk me through the return process or whatever it is that I need. And they work there at Zappos, right? It's not like some sort of like enormous outsourced call center in a foreign country, right? These are people that understand and love the product, and I'm willing to pay more for that. Same thing holds true for over half of people when they're buying a car. So what does that mean? That means that if people are looking for a better experience and they're doing a ton of their shopping online, you need to build an actual virtual showroom. Now, this concept's nothing new. I think that people have been sort of spouting about this since 2001, but what we have not had in the past is a really good insight into just how much people are doing their car shopping online. And I love this. I love this information here. Maybe better than any other of the information that we've got, because for me this is really important, right? Like for the past 5 years or 6 years, it was always what percentage of car shoppers are shopping online. That question, if somebody's like, hey, let me tell you what percentage of car shoppers are shopping online, show them the door, because it's everybody. That's not even the question anymore, right? The question right now is how much of the entire car buying process is actually done online. And when we look here, that's 61% of it. So, for me, if I am looking to optimize in a market or an economy that is both flat for car sales and margin compression heavy, where I'd be looking to optimize my showroom would be online first, right? Because that's 61% of the entire car shopping process. Another 21% is done right at the dealership. So you really dial in these two portions of the car buying process, and you're starting with a good operation there. This is brand new information that's out from Google, and it's more just a sort of example of what are the actual audiences that are out there for us to capture, begin, and start to drive into the car buying process. I think that it's telling when we see that there's approximately 60 million people that are out there, willing to buy a car in the next 1 to 3 years. Probably for a local dealer, not a great investment to begin targeting those people at this moment. That feels to me much more like a branding play from an OEM to begin to build that awareness. But when we get into the 6 to 12 month process, right, where there's 7 million car shoppers, and then we move into the 2 months away from purchasing car shoppers, that's where we begin to want to really have our audiences and understand our local market to help people begin to drive to buying that car. For me, this is totally nuts, right? Like, I think that, all of the old research is saying, people come into the car dealership with a car, they know the car that they want to buy at this moment. But what we're seeing now in very new research is people are considering up to 5 brands within 2 months of purchasing a car, right? So as marketers, as sales professionals, as dealership principals, we need to be there and meet these customers and build their audiences to the right people that are going to be purchasing and sway them from 5 different brands into the brand that we want them to be shopping in. And that really comes through both a convenient shopping process and a dialed in digital advertising strategy. So when we begin to look at this digital storefront, right, we need to design websites that cater to any shopper's needs. We know that in our daily lives that we live in a multi-screen environment. It's been that way for the past half a decade. We watch television, have our laptop open, are scrolling on our mobile devices. So for us, it's really important to know and to build websites and content that is compelling across all of those screen resolutions, right? That's an important piece here. We need to be able to track, understand, and deliver content across any screen size. For us, where we're focusing a lot of our effort at NADA and in 2019 is really driving people to the VDP page. Now, I'm gonna get a little cute here and throw what seems like some just branding term here, but for us, this is truth at dealer.com. The vehicle details page has been swapped from the vehicle details page to the vehicle deals page. And now that might seem subtle and sort of cute, but for us, that's a mantra, and that's important because we are no longer using this vehicle details page to just provide information like, does it have child seat restraints? Does it have airbags? Yes, all of that information should be in there. That's not even a question. How it's presented should be compelling and useful. But really what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive transactional behavior. If they're interested in purchasing that car, give them a place to begin that process, because that is important, as we'll see sort of later on in this presentation, into what is sort of a joyful car buying experience for people. So just a little backup information here. We're keeping about 100 million unique monthly vehicle deals page views on our platform a month. What are we seeing out of that? 52% of users are going directly to a vehicle deals page. Almost 90% of users reach the vehicle deals page from the vehicle listings page. That means that you also have to structure what would be on any sort of website platform. The vehicle listings page would be basically the search results page on the website. And then you can see, here on the bottom right that people are looking at about nearly 4 vehicle deals pages when they go on and they visit. So they're looking around. So you need to make sure that these are bright, good pictures. You need to have a platform that is allowing for information that makes sense to what they're looking for. And as we move into sort of this next phase of working inside of these websites, for us, personalization is really the key. It's not specifically new to digital marketing and or the digital retailing space, but for automotive, it's really changing. And there's a number of reasons that's the case, right? That car buying is unlike anything else in retail. Arguably, the most complicated thing that you can purchase in your lifetime, and you're going to do it 3 to 5 times in your lifetime. But for us, we want to we're not above taking what our best practice is, and we see personalization in our lives every single day. We have this example here on the screen of Netflix. Netflix personalizes their results and tailors their results based on an algorithm of what they think you would be most interested in, what would bring them sort of the most delight and the most entertainment to your daily lives. And for the most part, they're pretty accurate. I think that we can all agree that once in a while they throw in Netflix throws in a stinker or two that might not that might not correspond with what we actually are interested in. But as a whole, consumers are used to this feeling of having content that's tailored for them. And not only are they used to it, they begin to expect it. So we need to begin to meet them where they want to be met. And for them, that's, remove the clutter. Get rid of it for me. Show me only the things that I'm concerned about, and we can begin this shopping process much faster. So we're talking about nearly everybody, right? Almost 90% of consumers said personalization in some way has had at least some impact on their purchasing decisions, right? And all of the major retail sites now at this point, Amazon, eBay, everybody is who has the ability to get both third-party data and first-party data are beginning to tailor messages for the consumer, because there's a fact here. The reason that we're doing this is it converts. It helps people shop better, right? And these are not numbers to sort of scoff at, right? When you personalize results for people, we see 2.5 times higher click-through rates. That's exceptional, right? A 12% lift in inventory conversion. And for me, this is what's crazy. The middle stat here, this 72% of shoppers are eligible for personalization. These are people who are eligible for personalization before they even hit your website. So for us, we have a huge family of brands that people are kind of shopping through, right? The Kelley Blue Book, the Auto Traders, all of that is hooked in, and we're beginning to track and understand what these shoppers are doing before they even hit the tier 3 website. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important to be optimized on all of those sites as well. And not only that, through our partnerships with OEMs, we're beginning to understand what they're doing at what we would call the tier 1 level. So tier 1 through tier 3, we have the ability to begin to track and understand and shape and mold what the content is for a shopper before they even hit the tier 3 website. So once they hit your dealership website, we're dialed in and we're pushing them towards what they have been looking for previously, right? This is really sort of the key behind personalization. Is you want to make it, you want to remove that traffic to the transaction. And for me, that's really sort of key here. So when we talk about making deals online, I have not been, an in the box F&I professional. Have worked many sales floors. Have a ton of respect for my colleagues who work the box and are F&I professionals. And for me, this is where I see, both sales, digital marketing, F&I really sort of working together and being collaborative inside of the dealership to figure out what is kind of the best process for our customers here. So, one of the things that we know is that these decisions that people are making, these huge sort of life-altering decisions, am I going to buy a $40,000 car? These decisions are driven by experiences. And that's no different for anything else in our sort of lives, right? It doesn't matter if it's a huge car or if it's eyeglasses or if it's appliances, right? These decisions are driven by emotional experiences, logical decision-making experiences, and what we get from both our dealership and sort of those professionals. So we know that it's super important for people to save time, understand that the process, the buying process is transparent and they can trust people. And then, how do we get better with technology, right? The only way that technology succeeds is if it is providing something that people are looking for that couldn't have happened with the previous way of doing business, right? And that experience really should be changing for the better with technology. And we see this, right? We see this in our everyday lives. You've got the ability to sort of save time. You've got Amazon's, Blue Aprons, Grubhub. These are all brands that you understand. I love Instant Cart. Those guys have sort of changed my life. I don't have to go and battle the Costco line anymore for wet wipes and laundry detergent. Somebody comes and delivers that to my house. You know, we have other brands like Warby Parker that have done just an incredible job of letting people both try something virtually online, and then, you know, hey, if you want to try 5 pairs of our glasses, try them. Go home with them. Live with them for a day or two, right? Keep the ones you want and send us back the ones that you don't. That is transparent and sort of easy. And we know a lot of the most progressive dealers out there are doing things just like that, right? Sure, take the car home, try it overnight, bring it back to us. You know, if you can't come to the dealership to have delivery happen, we'll come to you. There's people that are sort of experimenting with all of this. And it's really an exciting time, I think, for automotive, because, you know, the people that sort of dig in and emulate the things that they sort of love in their lives and that make their lives more convenient are going to be the ones that win sort of in the future here. And then finally, just, you know, again, just touching on this better experience with technology, you know, all of us use some form of online retailing or money management or ordering form. I think, you know, personally, I don't know if anybody has used the Domino's pizza app. It's not one that we've got listed here, but whoever the guy is or the girl is that invented that and brought that to Domino's should be an equity shareholder right now at this point, right? Because I think, and, you know, if you look at sort of the trade rags inside of digital marketing and digital retailing, it's pretty astonishing what they've done to make sort of ordering something as innocuous as a pizza is, right? But easy. You can shout to your Alexa. You can track the progress on it. All of those things are exactly the trigger points that people are concerned about. When they're buying a car, they want to know where they are in the process. They would love to know how long it's going to be before they're done. We can help facilitate that as digital marketers and F&I professionals through technology. There are a number of solutions, even outside of DealerTrack, that can help you sort of achieve that. You just have to be cognizant about the ones that best sort of facilitate it for your dealership. Here's sort of the kicker. You know, we constantly think that, you know, we kick ourselves in the shins as professionals in F&I or in sales in the dealership, that, you know, it's definitely the sales guy that makes the car buying process sort of crummy. Truth is, it's not. It's not. You know, I think that F&I professionals have maybe one of the toughest jobs in the dealership, because, you know, they've already gone through all of this fun stuff with a salesperson who gets them just juiced and high on buying the car, and then, you know, they're going to come in to the box and you know, their friends warn them that, you know, they're going to get sold again on something else. But the truth of the matter is, people are pretty okay with all of those processes. What people hate is the amount of time it takes to buy a car. So what are we going to do as an industry or as professionals who are looking to help our dealership succeed to change that? Here it is. The deal itself is, and this is on average, right, about 90 minutes total. Half of that is spent at the dealership in these phases that you guys see here listed in front of you. What if we could begin to whittle out some of those processes and allow people to do them online based on parameters that we in the F&I department lay out? Well, the facts are that nearly 85% of people want to do some part of the car buying process online right now. So we need to sort of help these people get there. You know, for me, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road for digital retailing. We know that people are interested in sort of whittling down some of that time that they spend inside of the dealership. We know that it's expensive on the dealership to keep people inside of the dealership and not moving through the car buying process. So if we're looking to optimize our revenues and optimize both our F&I team's time and our sales team's time, doing processes that they would love to do online at home just makes sense. So, you know, what we need to do is we need to begin to figure out, how does our in-store process match what we can do with technology online? So people that are pulling the panic lever on, you know, this is the end of car dealerships. And, you know, there's a number of retailers are out there that are even advertising so far as skip the dealership. And while these are interesting business models that are showing success, almost 90% of people still think that the dealership is essential to completing the sale. So people are still going to have to come in and go into the F&I office to complete the sale, to put ink on paper. People also want to talk to experts on the product. This is where, you know, we as sales professionals inside of a dealership, this is where we can stand out. I mean, I'm not bad at technology, but I just got a 2018 GMC Sierra pickup truck, right? You would think, well, pickup truck, how sort of technologically advanced could this be? But frankly, as someone who is like a nerd, I am nitpicking new things every single day on this thing. And I bought it on July 4th, right? This is our opportunity as sales professionals to make people feel really good about the process. People hate sort of having to submit finance applications, and the trade process is intimidating and scary, and they don't feel like they're able to sort of negotiate, you know, with expert negotiators. This section, that right here for F&I, walk people through this, help them understand where it's important. Use technology to enable that. For sales professionals, know your product, understand what it is you're selling, because people are they're thirsty to have these product experts inside of the sales process. And what we know is, you know, in the end, if you're offering people what they want, which is the ability to buy some portion of their car online, those car dealerships that are offering that they have a competitive advantage. And it's, you know, that's sort of the unarguable fact now at this point. For us, it's how you implement it that is really kind of the key to success for the digital retailing process. It is not just about slapping some ability to get a trade-in or pull accurate pricing or look at F&I products. That is the key. It's not just making the capability, it's how we're going to advertise it and how our dealership staff know how to grab that handoff from online to when they walk in store, because that is the key. And for us, you know, how we sort of promote this idea that we offer what people are looking for, we really can do that with targeted advertising campaigns. You know, I'm gonna breeze through this section here, but digital advertising, it evolves sort of on a daily basis with what sort of channels you can use and the audiences that you can capture. But I feel like the basic strategy of advertising has not changed in many, many years. So there are two sort of core tenets that we can do. Even if we're not the marketing person inside of the dealership, we can help sort of guide them as F&I professionals or as sales professionals. And that really revolves around the idea of demand capture and demand generation. Demand capture is, who are the people that are out there right now? Those 2 million people that are ready to buy. They have interest in doing it. What does that audience look like? How are we going to reach them? I'd argue, things like paid search, that's really people just typing a question into Google, and you got to be there, and you've got to be able to answer that question when it gets positive. And the way that Google and Bing and everybody works is, you have to pay to be at the top answer of the question. But when you do, right, you are there and you are capturing that existing demand. For me, if paid search is maybe $1 in my advertising budget, retargeting has to be number 2. For most of us, our website volume isn't so huge that that retargeting gets much above $1,500 a month. And for the marketers on the phone right now, take a quick stroll through your radio advertising budget or your television advertising budget. And these are people that have already been to your website, already shown intent. I think that there's no better value and there is no better channel than that. But then, what I'm saying is we have to look at this as an omni-channel approach. So really, you can't ignore things like Facebook. You can't ignore things like display or YouTube. All of these things sort of play together, and you can't ignore things like television or radio or even newspaper. Gone are the days when we said, hey, you can do just paid search or you can do just third-party listings. We know, because we've been able to tie through our analytics layer that we saw at the beginning of the presentation, that people don't shop in a linear fashion, right? People are not, the traditional sort of sales funnel that people love to put on every presentation. Guilty as charged. I have used it a number of times. But when you really dig in, you sort of look at what's happening throughout the car shopping process. That's not at all how people shop. People shop in more of a Mobius than they do a funnel, and you really just need to be there to target and nudge and provide information at the right moments. And you do that through a number of different channels. And then when you do that, what we see is lift across the board. You use an omni-channel digital marketing strategy and you see increased performance over dealers that are just doing things like search and retargeting. And when I say omni-channel, I'm talking about things like search engine optimization, new content on your websites, new ad channels. All of these things sort of help to build a much more broad base of appeal. And the great thing about being a tier 3 automotive dealer, and I would posit to guess that most of us have had our websites and or at least our dealership branding for a number of years. That sort of traction and that sort of awareness and audience that has been built, that's the most valuable thing that you guys can use. And that's yours to use and sort of market correctly to. Really, that audience management piece that's going to be key in 2019. And And providers like Google, like Facebook, like Bing, every single one of them has a different solution. What you need to do is you need to figure out how do I begin to inject my audiences and couple them with all of these sort of huge third-party audiences, and what providers are going to give me audience reach extensions. So where do I capture more in-market car shoppers from? That is key. I think that, you know, very sort of frankly here, as an advertising guy, many of the functions of sort of basic paid search, basic display advertising, basic retargeting, all of those things have become are becoming commoditized more or less. It really is the data and sort of the analytics behind what we're using for digital marketing that's going to drive us through 2019. Big thing here, and this is kind of something that's close to my heart. $6.5 billion industry right now for fraud, ad fraud, globally. Now, obviously that number is smaller for the US, but the majority of it takes place in the US. And one of the things that we've done at Cox Automotive and a number of other providers, I think are, you know, beginning to take notice and hopefully build towards is really this idea around ad safety and protecting your advertising investments. For those of you that think that ad fraud and click fraud was a thing of like 1998 and early 2000s, could not be more untrue. It's a huge industry, and honestly, it's mostly innocuous to the average advertiser. But for us, this is really important, right? We want to make sure that every penny that we spend of a dealer's advertising budget is going to a real human being and not an automated bot. And that's important for us. And it's been you know, sort of core tenet that we're pushing inside of the advertising engineering departments here at dealer.com. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do, no matter who it is, go to your advertising provider, whether it's your cable provider, your agency, whoever, and be like, I need you to really dig in, and I need you to tell me what it is that you guys are doing to protect against bot-generated traffic, because it's a big deal. And it's only getting bigger. And when you look at sort of the biggest ad agencies in the world, the WPPs, the Saatchi and Saatchis, all of them are really sort of focusing on the space because it's a real sort of challenge for their advertisers. So I encourage you to work with providers that are really protecting your investment. I think that there's also space to sort of, you know, we've sort of chatted through, personalization. We have chatted through advertising and where do we sort of capture our audiences and help them drive towards this transaction. We've chatted about the transaction, but I think that there is space to even take your website, this transactional location, even further. One of those places is just quality SEO, right? When we see that people are doing, for us, you know, these are the only numbers that we can sort of look at. But when we see that someone engages with our premium SEO team, and I'm sure that these numbers look similar if someone invests in an SEO department in their own dealership, or perhaps works with some sort of agency, just doing the heavy lifting and the day-to-day grind on building content that's relevant to people and is useful, that is rewarded by Google. Not only is it rewarded by Google, people reward you with conversions. So SEO, a good quality sort of content plan and optimizing your content for your shoppers It's not only good to sort of get Google to put your ranking at the top, but hey, wouldn't you know it, it also makes your website better for your consumers. This sort of can't be understated here, and it still is challenging. I know that you say things like the word Yelp, and for some people it sends a rankle up everybody's spine. But the truth of the matter is that reviews are important to the success of your dealership, and sort of how you go about managing those, and helping your floor people and your service professionals understand that every day that they sort of show up and interact with your customers is an important day. But sometimes some of these things, people's sort of reactions to what for you and I might seem like a very normal interaction could result in a negative reaction or a positive one, right? But either way, you need to be there and have staff that is trained, or work with professionals who are dedicated to managing these relationships on a day-to-day basis. Finally, I think that this is also really important here, and it's difficult to sort of see until you see it. But there's a huge kind of difference in dealerships that present a cohesive and consistent content strategy versus those who have maybe a fragmented strategy on mobile as they do on tablet, and their specials look different on the phone than it does on the desktop, and their advertisement looks different than what their OEM advertisement is advertising. So all of these things, figuring out your incentives and the branding and look and feel and all of that is really important to just overall excellence inside of marketing your inventory and marketing your branding. And so you have to figure out a way to get that, whether that's working through an agency or working through someone like our managed services department. You really need to be able to do that, because that's important to allow kind of this purchase space that, remember, this is 60% of the entire car buying process is done online. If you don't have consistency in that, you are missing out tremendously. So what does it look like for winning as a dealership in 2019? Some of you folks will be there. My feet are already hurting in anticipation of it, but I think it's going to be a big year. Number one for us, experience is everything. You got to modernize and you've got to personalize that digital storefront. You also have to optimize your inventory pages. Don't forget the term. I know it sounds cheesy, but this is the vehicle details page is the vehicle deals page now. Live it, love it. We all do. It's important because it's a significant change in how we sort of manage and begin to build those pages. And if you've got to think about what's going to make me convert and begin that buying process, that's what you need to be thinking about on those inventory pages. Let shoppers start that purchase process online. I think that everybody understands that a significant portion of people want to do some bit of it. Let them start that process. Understand your audiences and use it to target your advertising. And for us, for the F&I professionals on this call, the people that we see kind of doing the best with the online to in-store shopping process are the ones that advertise the capability on the website. So this is I feel like a real sort of greenfield opportunity for sort of enterprising F&I professionals to step up and say, hey, listen, I know that the marketing department usually handles this, but here's what we see. Why aren't we talking about our ability to do some of the car shopping process online? And then finally, just make sure that we don't forget about the basics. Take SEO, content, and reputation further. Don't forget about consistency. And these things generally don't happen. These aren't like automated solutions. These require people who are either inside of the dealership or people that understand the technology platform that they're working on and are able to help out there. I know that this was a ton of information, and I hope it was super, super useful for you guys. I think, Nick, are we going to take some questions here?
Yes, excellent presentation, Andy. And it's just a reminder to everyone that we are recording today's webinar, so please keep watch of your inbox for a link to the recording that you'll be able to review the great information that Andy has shared, and share it as well with other colleagues at your store. And just to get our Q&A session started, Andy touched on it during your presentation, talking about how crucial it is for the F&I process to start online via the dealership's website or what have you. Question has come in that how does the store utilize technology in the F&I department without giving too many just yes or no options online, and still having that human factor that seems to be so important? What recommendations might you have there to optimize the F&I process without perhaps making it too sterile, or perhaps circumventing efforts that might happen face to face?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think that it's one that traditionally had been frequently left to the sales department. I can only speak through my lens of what sort of technology products do we offer to sort of allow for this. First off, the digital retailing process, our Accelerate process that we have, we allow for the F&I department to pull levers and the business to set parameters as to kind of, how are we going to allow people to walk through this process. There's a little bit more of a rigid process than maybe like talking face to face would happen, except for the fact that we allow for the flexibility for the F&I professionals and the back office to set those parameters. I also think that we have a communication platform that allows people to sort of message back and forth with potential car buyers, and that's frequently used by the sales professionals. But again, this is like one of those things where inside of the dealership, maybe this is a spot for the F&I person to sort of be able to facilitate that conversation and chat back and forth with them. I think that there's a number of different options, and I can think of several already on our platform. Again, if someone has further questions about that, I'd love to chat more about it. And I would also say, in the vein of sort of keeping this as agnostic as we can, I would hazard to guess there are a number of different ways you can kind of like skin this cat. But the one sort of core piece for me that's important is you can't force people through the car buying process and then just eject them wholesale out if they don't want to do like their trade, or they don't want to put in their social security number. You gotta let them sort of move through that process in the way that they want to do that, and save that information as you go.
The voice you're hearing, that's our special guest for today's webinar. That's Andy McClay, who is the Director of Digital Marketing for Dealer.com, in our webinar today, Winning as a Digital Dealership in 2019. And Throughout your materials, Andy, as you shared, another inquiry has come in is how much of your recommendations would be applicable to not only that large franchise dealership that has hundreds of cars in inventory, but perhaps also that smaller independent store that maybe has just a couple of dozen units in stock. How similar, how different are the best practices depending on the size of the dealership?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I kind of love the small dealerships. Those are the folks that are closest to sort of what the environment that I kind of worked in when I was in not quite automotive, but I was in heavy truck sales for a number of years. Personally, I think that if you are an enterprising independent car dealer, and obviously there's a certain amount of scale where these solutions cost a certain amount of money, right? So you have to have a little bit of scale to sort of cover that. But if I was an enterprising small franchise or independent car dealer, I would be all over this. I would be using technology as my instant lever to gain a competitive advantage. Now, again, as a whole, we have to understand that that for digital marketing, this kind of omni-channel approach takes analysis as to kind of what is the best plausible sort of channels, and that's different for a small car dealer or a hyper local car dealer as it is for like a huge AutoNation or Lithia or somebody like that. But for me, yeah, I totally see there is a competitive advantage waiting in the grass right now for a really enterprising small dealership. Just figuring out, really sort of hyper targeting those costs and figuring out what is the best use of marketing and or technology dollars. That's the key. And obviously we could help you talk through that, but that's ultimately your decision there.
Closing moments here with our special guest. He's Andy McClay, who is the Director of Digital Marketing for Dealer.com for our webinar today, winning as a digital dealership in 2019. And to round out our session today, Andy, it's a question that has been raised and probably on the minds of everyone who registered and attended. And just as a reminder that we are recording the session, and so certainly keep watch of your inbox for a link to that recording coming to you as soon as possible. But when do you think the digital experience will start to overtake the in-store experience in terms of car buying? I guess perhaps you referenced the Domino's Pizza situation and how enjoyable that is. Just when do you think we'll be acquiring a vehicle as easy as pizza?
I mean, that's a good question, right? Like, so when does the digital experience overtake the dealership experience? In many ways, if folks click the link, or the people that are still on this call go back to maybe it was like slide 3 or 4. In many ways, it already has. 61% of the entire car buying process, right, start to finish, begin to dream, begin to want to buy a car, begin to look at cars, begin to be advertised about cars, begin to shop, begin to figure out how much equity I've got that I can buy with. All of those things, that's 61% of the car buying process right now, today. 22% of it, I think, I would have to go back and double check that number, but in the low to mid 20s is done in the dealership. Caveat to all of that. People still want to touch, feel, look at, enjoy a vehicle before they make a really huge purchase decision. I think that, our data is just showing over and over and over again that yes, some people will want to pull the trigger, buy a car 100% online. It happens all the time right now with certain retailers. But that's not the majority of car buyers. And the majority of car buyers, this is still intimidating and scary. And they want to talk to good professionals that are transparent about the process. And if you think that that is like a little bit of horn tooting from a technology company, in that regards, who, help with both F&I process and digital marketing, you don't have to look any further than Amazon, truly, because at this moment, what was Amazon's last biggest purchase? Really enormous big purchase. Whole Foods. So they're going to offer people the ability to get their Whole Foods order delivered to their house, but they also own a whole bunch of brick and mortar, and that's going nowhere. So it's not about when is digital car buying going to overtake traditional car buying. The successful dealer in the next 3 years is going to allow people to either buy it in the store or buy it online if that's what they want to do. And they're going to know who they are through that whole process, and they're going to make it fun, and it's going to be a shorter process overall to do it. So I think that it doesn't matter when that happens so much as are we meeting what our customers want to do.
That's our special guest expert for today's webinar. He's Andy McClay, who is the Director of Digital Marketing for Dealer.com. Andy, thank you so much for the great insights and information during our webinar today.
Yeah, thanks so much to Cherokee Media. Nick, you've been an awesome host. Hopefully people download the presentation. Come see me at the Dealer.com booth at NADA 2019. I'll be there in hopefully what's sunny San Francisco. Could be drizzly. You never know this time of year.
Very good. Very good. Well, for Andy McClay and Dealer.com and all of us at Cherokee Media Group, I'm Nick Zulovich. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.